Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Surabhyaya Namaha
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 Mukam karoti vachalam pangum nangayate girim Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Reading from Canto number 1, chapter 1, entitled Questions by the Sages. And today we are reading, I believe, text number
9, I think.
Text number 9. Tatra
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 Anjasa
Anjasa
Ayushman
Ayusman
Bhavata
Bhagavata
Yad
Yad
Vinishchitam
Vinishchitam
Pumsam
Pumsam
Ekantataha
Ekantaha
Shreyas
Shreyas
Tan
Tan
Naha
Naha
Shamsitum
Samstitum
Arhasi
Arsi
Tatra Tatra Jasayushman
Tatra Tatra Jasayusman
Tatra Tatran Jasayushman
Tatra Tatra Jasayusmin
Bhagavata Yad Vinishchitam
Bhagavatam Yadinishchitam
Bhavata Yad Vinishchitam
Bhavata Yadinishchitam
Pumsam Ekantata Shreyas
Pumsaha Ekantata Shreyas
Pumsam Ekantata Shreyas
Pumtam Ekantata Shreyas
Tanna Shamsitum Arhasi
Tanna Stitum Tumarasi
Tanna Shamsitum Arhasi
Tanna Stitu
Arasi
Tatra Tatran Jasayushman
Tatra Tatra Jasayusman
Bhavata Yad Vinishchitam
Bhavata Vinishchitam
Bhavata Yad Vinishchitam
Bhavata Yadvinishchitam
Pumsam Ekantata Shreyas
Pumsam Ekantata Shreyas
Tanna Shamsitum Arhasi.
Tannam Stitum Arhasi.
Mekula.
Oh,
We don't have that.
okay. Narokan. Tatra
Tatra
thereof.
Thereof.
Tatra
Tatra.
thereof.
Thereof.
Anjasa
Anjasa
made easy.
made easy.
Ayushman
Ayushman
blessed with a long duration
blessed long generation
of life.
of life.
Bhavata
Bhavata
Bhavata.
Bhavata
He likes taha. By your good self,
by your good self,
yat,
yat
Yat
whatever,
whatever
vinishchitam,
Vinishchitam
ascertained,
ascertain,
pumsam,
Pumsam
for the people in general,
for the people in general,
ekantataha,
Ekantataha
absolutely,
Absolutely
shreyaha,
Shreyaha
ultimate good,
ultimate
good
tat,
tat,
that,
that,
naha,
Naha
to us,
to us,
shamsitum,
Samasitum
to explain,
to explain,
arhasi,
arhasi,
Arasi
deserve.
Resolve
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. Kindly repeat after me. Please, therefore,
Please therefore,
being blessed
being blessed
with many years,
with many years,
explain to us
explain to us
in an easily
in an easily
understandable way
understandable way
what you have ascertained
what you have ascertained
to be the absolute
to be the absolute
and ultimate good
and
and ultimate good
for the people
for
for the people
in general.
in general.
Report. In Bhagavad Gita, worship of the Acharya is recommended. The Acharyas and Goswamis are always absorbed in thought of the well-being of the general public, especially their spiritual well-being. Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. The Acharyas, therefore, give directions in spiritual well-being for people in general. Foreseeing the incompetencies of the people in this age of Kali, or the iron age of quarrel, the sages requested that Sutta Goswami give a summary of all revealed scriptures, because the people of this age are condemned in every respect. The sages, therefore, inquired of the absolute good, which is the ultimate good for the people. The condemned state of affairs of the people of this age is described as follows. That will be tomorrow's text. So the translation again. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. So the sages at Naimisharanya continue to their prayers, reasons. So immediately in the purport, Prabhupada is going directly to the Bhagavad Gita. We must always make reference to the Bhagavad Gita because that is the basic philosophy. Basis of understanding is from the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. And from the very first line, Prabhupada is telling that in the Bhagavad Gita, worship of the Acharya is recommended.
they can remove all our ignorance
How they can remove?
by engaging us in the service of Krishna.
Yes. The point that Prabhupada is underlining here is because they are always absorbed in thought of the well-being of the general public, because they are that is a sign of a Mahajan or Acharya. His main thought and meditation is how to bring the highest welfare, para upakar, that is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kora para upakar, the greatest welfare, greatest benefit to humanity. And this nice point that is next being explained here is very, very important. I see only one eye. I see only one eye when you look like that. So either you put your head this way or that way. Not good to look. Or put
एक
your
आँख से
head.
देखना अच्छा नहीं रहता ना,
नहीं एक आंख से देख रहे हैं
क्योंकि इसकी वजह से थोड़ा इधर हो जाएगा.
No, don't block him. Ah, there you are. Very important statement here being made. Is unknown to most people, and sometimes devotees may not understand or be fully convinced. And that statement is the following. Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. People are hankering for, today in modern day society, what is it? All kinds of craziness. Their youth, or their ability for sense gratification. Vrindavan. The residents of Vrindavan were the most elevated, most spiritually advanced personalities on the planet. And all they were doing is looking after cows. They were just ordinary, cowherd, village people. There's no mention in Vrindavan someone going to university. No one having PhD degree there. But they were opulent, materially opulent. And even though they became or were materially opulent, because they were spiritually opulent as well, they were not distracted by their material opulence. Because most people, they become enamored or they get lost and forget. Actually, most people generally, as Prabhupada would explain, they go to church for some material gain. Once that material gain comes, then they reduce their going to church. So the whole world actually is in pursuit of material happiness or happiness. Of course, because most people don't know about spirituality, they are aimlessly endeavoring to find happiness in material things, in material relationships, etc. So this is the very, very unfortunate state of affairs in modern day society. The people neither have material opulence nor do they have spiritual opulence. What a dreadful condition, Yeah, that will be described in that verse coming up tomorrow. So therefore, the primary welfare activity of sadhus, of saintly persons, of acharyas, is to give spiritual understanding. If one if one is fortunate to receive spiritual knowledge, spiritual understanding, part of that spiritual understanding is to know that I may become materially opulent or I may not. According to my karma, I may have to remain in a poor condition for the rest of my life. But having spiritual knowledge, that's another statement that is nicely mentioned actually. Krishna is explaining to Arjuna in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that the one who actually is cultivating spiritual knowledge, he can, if he's properly cultivating that knowledge, he can immediately, very quickly, very easily transcend the threefold miseries of life. And that's what's making people unhappy. Bad weather, all kinds of calamities that are taking place. Our neighbors shouting at us, whatever, the dog biting us. The threefold miseries of life, that is part of the test in becoming a devotee. One gradually learns to be undisturbed or unaffected by the threefold miseries of life. Because one learns to tolerate. I say there's no other remedy. We cannot avoid. We cannot say no to the miseries that are there in the material world. We cannot say no to the karmic reaction that is coming our way. But we can, with our mind and our intelligence, learn how to not be disturbed or affected. So that's why sadhus are the greatest gift to humanity. They can actually give the permanent remedy by which one's suffering can actually be alleviated and completely make that suffering or the effect of that suffering disappear. Suffering in the material world is always there. But by cultivation of spiritual transcendental knowledge, a devotee is able to transcend these threefold miseries, as well as, of course, transcending the three modes of material nature. So this is being pointed out here by the sages in Naimisharanya. They are eager to receive the good association of Sutta Goswami. It is there in the Shastra that one flower, somebody was just mentioning yesterday, that in some temple they had one special kind of flower that they were growing, and as soon as you would enter the temple compound, the aroma would be so nice, all pervading. So it is mentioned that one such flower tree in a forest, the whole forest becomes aromatic. So that is we can understand actually by this how the mission and the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of personalities like our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas, and anyone who understands and takes up that mission, every single person who actually receives, just like these sages of Naimisharanya, they will be receiving this good association of Sutta Goswami. So anyone who receives this same association by coming in contact with our present day modern Acharya, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, they themselves can afterwards carry this knowledge and therefore benefit. The world is every single day being benefited by someone coming to Krishna consciousness. As soon as somebody comes to Krishna consciousness, he will stop being envious of others. He will stop exploiting others. Rather, he will, like it is nicely described here, he will constantly be thinking, what is the best way I can help others to actually eliminate and alleviate all of their sufferings in the material world. So this is a very important statement that is, very important statement. And that is why sadhus, Prabhupada would sometimes be asked, what are you doing for society? You're not opening hospitals, you're not opening schools, but that is all temporary. Not that we should not care for the body, but the most important is that we should be cultivating the importance of Atma Gyan, knowledge of the soul. So that is the special and unique feature of acharyas, that they give directions in spiritual well-being for people in general. And we know that when one has knowledge about spiritual well-being, then he more easily will know how to deal with the material energy as well. And the sages are requesting Sutta Goswami to give a summary of the revealed scriptures. And this is what he will begin to present in the pages to come. We can actually begin and hear the description of the people of Kali Yuga, although I think most of us have some understanding. So we'll go to text number, Hare Krishna. Text number 10, unless there's some question on this one. Prayenal Payusha Sabhya
Prayenalpa Sabhya
Kalavasmin Yuge Janaha
Kalavasmin Yuge Jana
Manda Sumanda Matayo
Manda Sumanda Matayo
Nanda Manda Bhagya Yupadhrutaha
Manda Subhadrito Manda Bhagya
Yupadhrutaha. Translation: O learned one, in this age of Kali, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. The devotees of the Lord are always anxious for the spiritual improvement of the general public. When the sages of Naimisharanya analyzed the state of affairs of the people in this age of Kali, they foresaw that men would live short lives. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is shortened not so much because of insufficient food, but because of irregular habits. Interesting point, yeah. There is also shortage of food, but even when there is sufficient food, people have bad habits, and therefore they become ill and they shorten their duration of life. By keeping regular habits and eating simple food, any man can maintain his health. Overeating, over sense gratification, over dependence on another's mercy, and artificial standards of living sap the very vitality of human energy. And therefore the duration of life is shortened. We'll just read this paragraph here because there's so much information in this paragraph. So the first point being that this actually needs to become that's nicely explained also by Srila Narada Muni. Smritam chata bidam rajan yena chatma prasidati. That verse we find in the 7th chapter. I'm sorry, 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Smritam chata bidam rajan. Narada Muni is speaking to Yudhishthira Maharaj and explaining to him that actually the special feature of a devotee is that he is constantly thinking how to alleviate the suffering of others, how to bring, just as it is being explained here, how to actually bring real permanent benefit to others. So in other words, we see, of course, especially in the example of Srila Prabhupada, that just this morning I was hearing Prabhupada explaining how I could have stayed in Vrindavan. I was very comfortable. I was in the most sacred place in the whole universe, Vrindavan Dham. People sometimes plan their whole life to go to Vrindavan. Prabhupada was already there. He had his own 2 rooms, paying very little rent, every day having darshan, having prasadam, mahaprasadam. In America they say he had it made. He had no other, perfection. His perfection of life was already attained. But Prabhupada explains, because we know as Vaishnavas that unless people receive this knowledge, they will simply continue to rot and suffer in this material world. So therefore I left this very good situation of Vrindavan to come to this New York City in the Bowery, most degraded place. So we can test ourselves. We can judge ourselves. We can evaluate where is our consciousness on this point. The purport is Prabhupada explaining very clearly that the devotees of the Lord, they're always anxious for the spiritual improvement of the general public. Yeah. And Vedic culture especially, very, very, very different than modern day culture, gives stress, gives importance to leading a regulated life. That is mentioned here. So therefore we have rules and regulations whereby we follow a very regimented or regulated lifestyle. And if one does that, Prabhupada is actually making the point. It's not so much because of course, nowadays, most food that people eat is bad food, so they are that's affecting their health. But Srila Prabhupada is making the point, what is more detrimental and what is especially shortening the life of individuals is being unregulated, especially in the matter of what time people go to bed and what time they rise. Most people, as we know, they take rest very late and they also rise very late. Vedic culture teaches us the opposite. So like this, this is very very practical instructions that if nicely followed, we can see, we can experience, we can get the good results. One of the good results, of course, is that one will live out. It's explained that actually due to karma, we have so many years to live. It's calculated on the number of times we will be breathing. And when we live, it's not only when someone commits suicide, for example, that he becomes disqualified to get, after leaving his body, one who commits suicide, it means, of course, that he's leaving prematurely. He has not lived out the years of karma in this body. And therefore, because he's broken in a very bad way, in a very serious way, the laws of nature, he is not qualified immediately to get another material body. So it's not only those who commit suicide, those who engage in activities that are sinful, that are, as mentioned here, they will reduce the body before the prescribed period of time. So they also will suffer. It is mentioned how it's a tremendous anxiety and suffering that you want to eat, but you don't have the body to eat. You don't have the ability to eat, isn't it? Yeah. So in this way, that's a special characteristic. One time Prabhupada was explaining about overpopulation. Yeah, overpopulation means that not enough people are actually becoming liberated, and they are forced to stay in the material world, and that brings about overpopulation. It's a long purport. We will leave the rest for tomorrow. Any comments on this? We read 2 verses. I'll read the first because one of our devotees, Raghava Prabhu, was not here for the first verse. Anyway, that was verse 9. Please, therefore, being pleased with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. And we just started text 10. O learned one, in this age of iron age of Kali, men have but short lives, they are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Anything?
Working is so hard in agriculture.
Working so hard in agriculture.
That problem, Guruvar? Any problem?
Any problem?
Yeah, asking any problem. But आध्यात्मिक में क्या बोलते हैं कि ज़्यादा काम नहीं करने का, थोड़ा कम काम करने का बोलता है ना, तभी हम लोग इधर एग्रीकल्चर करके ज़्यादा काम करते हैं, तो उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम है क्या पूछ रहा हूँ?
Maharaj, he has a confusion that he is working in agriculture a lot.
Yes.
And in our scriptures it is said we should not work a lot. So
his concern is that
he is
because he's doing agriculture, he's working a lot,
yes.
and he's telling that in our scripture it says not to work a lot. But that's not true. In one purport in the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada explains how the residents of Vrindavan were working hard every day. It's not that, one devotee I interviewed last year or the year before, I won't tell which community, he's part of a community, a rural community. And he was identifying two types of people in the community.
Laborers and...
No. It was very interesting. He was identifying two types of people, two types of devotees, not people, two types of devotees in the community. One he called those who are nicely engaged. They're busy doing so many different things, and they're working hard. And the other one, he called them the walkers.
And speakers.
They're walking around with their japamala, not engaged, not wanting to be engaged also. So this is a fallacy. This is supposed to be working hard. We're not supposed to be working in factories because that really dehumanizes one. But in agriculture, which is actually meant to be the standard occupation for the vast majority of householders, one especially works hard certain periods of the year. Of course, nowadays, because there are less people doing agriculture, so the burden falls more generally on one individual, but it's like if one has sons, normally the sons also
can be engaged.
Not interested.
Yeah, I know that this is part of Kali Yuga symptoms. When the situation is in proper order means when there are proper leaders, proper spiritual leaders, the brahmanas, proper another kind of spiritual leader, of course, also kshatriya, but they deal mainly with material things. Also Vaishya, another leader. When such leaders are in place, then when that means that there will not be so much of attraction or allurement for all kinds of material activities, and therefore people will be nicely engaged, and the burden will not fall just on one individual. But even if it does, which is the situation in modern day society, one has to just become stronger spiritually to cope with the situation. But it is natural unexpected, because that's the situation of the residents in Vrindavan. They're busy all day. I mean, the ladies get up way before sunrise, isn't it? They get up in the wee hours of the morning and they start churning the milk. They start all kinds of activities in the home, and they're busy all day. And the men are also busy because they have to grow food. We hear mostly in Vrindavan about the cows, but there are also people growing the food. Otherwise, how they live? But in the normal agricultural, let's say, village situation, this was nicely explained by this one devotee from Thailand. You might have seen the short interview he gave some years back. He was explaining that I'm from Thailand, I'm from village, and in all of our villages in Thailand, we have actually many festivals during the year, because we're just doing agriculture and we just grow what we need, and we have a lot of free time, because majority of people are doing that.
Yes, Guru. Before also 12 month 12 festival. Before I small one.
Uh,
That time 12 month only 1 month 1 festival. 12
Only-
month 12 festival also is there before.
Before,
Yeah.
every month festival.
Every month festival.
Correct. Yeah.
Now is no that.
Yes. No, now because, you see, the standard of living, people are forcing themselves to work hard also because they have to purchase. They don't have to, but they want to purchase. That's part of the understanding. The standard of living has become higher, and people previously people were just satisfied with their, as Prabhupada explained, the bare necessities of life, But nowadays people want all kinds of material gadgets and facilities. So when we reduce our basic necessities of life, and when we become regulated, then our lives become more peaceful. But there may be situations when other members, when there's only a small percentage of people doing that, then it is difficult. Yeah. So therefore, that's part of the culture we are meant to introduce and practice also. This whole philosophy that Prabhupada spoke about of simple living and high thinking. That now there's a very great imbalance, so it's more difficult. We were discussing yesterday, you were not here, how our brahmacharis have to work to make their own gurukul. Traditionally, it was arranged by kings, by generous Vaishyas. The Vaishyas, it would make guest house facilities for traveling mendicants, for sadhus, because those who are earning, the grihastas, and generally king would be grihasta also, they are meant to actually facilitate and maintain the brahmacharis, the sannyasis, and those in Vanaprastha life. And when there is proper government, this is possible. But now that arrangement is not there, and therefore there's heavy burden on grihastas, heavy burden on brahmacharis, heavy burden on sannyasis, heavy burden on, and no one is taking to Vanaprastha. There are no Vanaprasthas practically. So it's a difficult situation for everyone because it's abnormal. It is, yeah. Therefore, we are endeavoring as devotees and as a society to bring things back to a norm, to the proper Vedic norm. The more we come closer to the Vedic norm, everything becomes more simple. And there's a natural relationship and interdependence amongst all the members of the social order, amongst all the different varnas like that. Whatever the situation may be for a devotee, because that is part of our philosophy, we learn to adjust and not become overwhelmed. And we try to the best of our ability, and Krishna is there always to help in different ways.
Sometimes I am busy there, I am not attending the class. Today's workers, 2 workers coming, I am putting vegetables.
Oh,
They put water there only.
okay,
The water is not finished, I am not attending the Bhagavatam class.
okay, yeah. The best time for watering actually is in the afternoon, huh? To give
Yeah,
water.
afternoon and morning,
And
before
morning.
11 o'clock.
आफ्टरनून और इवनिंग एंड मॉर्निंग, शाम में और सुबह ना अच्छा
No,
रहता है.
noon is not good, Prabhu.
हाँ, शाम को इन इवनिंग एंड इन मॉर्निंग महाराज.
Right, no, but you said afternoon.
I was
Afternoon is afternoon. Evening is evening.
Yes,
Afternoon actually means, noon means 12 o'clock. So yeah, because the sun was just it's too hot at that time. Yes, we can close. And I'm looking at you.
you can close.
Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. We will all excuse Raghava Prabhu for sometimes not attending because he has